Welcome to Voice of South Pacific, broadcast from the Emerald City, Seattle, Washington. Ko e whamawhalalea eni ai le teo leo. O e Pacific South me he taulanga e malata. Moi mo unga o tawhea pe me Seattle, Washington, Amerika. Ko e ahua wha eni o me o i wawhi wowa. Malo la malie aho eiki pa mo lelea tongotoa o wa kia e whamawhalalea i Amerikani pia mo topule anga foki. Fifita e blau malia ho eiki pia mo e tonga kotoa taka i whanua e whakalalaka. Tuku mua ke iu whanga tupe ngai talaka kato o tau whanua pe talangata hei a te au o whai ki toa mama o atu kai whawhelo aki atu a e tau polokalama i he whiawhini. Pe ke i tataki e pe ki tau tolu aki halot ka mata e whaiwhekau Pastor Loma Whiaki. Na e toki graduate mai pe me he Commencement Theological Seminary. Pea koi au tau whiawhia, koi ngā koi whainga maarie, ke tau kau whataha pea mo toko tahani i he ahoni. Ka koi ne tuko mai a ene himi kamata, koi himi ono noa ono. Himi ono noa ono, ko e ko Ngaahi tu ki mua. Pea osko ia te tautok hoko tei pe ki he lot kamata. Malo.
Ko e ko Ngaahi tu ki mua ke lau ai malo he o tu. Ke tala e ne Ngaahi o whakia te au. Kia te au he ka ukoto. Hoku umemi pana e lau. Te eki ke whanau i au. Pe amo e ku vale vale. Na ane i ai. Na ane i ai o puke hake. Koi kai mi foki na aku fau. He la i hala ka lavo. Na ane a fio he fufu. O puke au. O puke au ke o waihu.
Ke tau loto.
Oi he rai ko vie.
O tua mafi. Ko koe e mauta mai ofa ai a Fiona. A koe nai punou ki ai e mau ngahi kui mua. Pea o kumau whaini he lolotongani. Pea i pehe ai pe ai a Fiona o wau ki e ngataanga mamani. Ko koe ia e arifa moe omeka. Ko kamataanga moe ngataanga e mau ngāwe o whai e invest koe ni. O mau whakatau wholofola atu ki a Fiona. Ka kuongo i maa e mau mo ui. Pe mau ilo pau. Ko kaulo ngutu uri ki mau tolu. Ke tapa fua ho wafa maa oni. Kau mau hufanga atu e whi lau na e whai ho alo. E funga kolosi ka le vare. O atai mo i kawanga hala ki mau tolu. Ke mau tapa fua atu. Ke o wafa maa oni. O mau kore whamormore atu. He tai tau e mau whakawhea ngai. O whai ke a Fiona. Koe lea i kai whiunga. Koe ngā ue o i kai tau. Pea glahi ange taimi o mau whakatup ho Hawaii ki e a Fiona. Pea mau kore whamormore atu ai. Oua mua te ke lau e mau hia. Mo e mau tono no. He ilo nā whai. Ko hoko e mau ngahi mo ui tai au ngani. Ko a insenisi o alaha nam kakala ki loto langi o whakahoifua atu ki a Fiona. O mau whamalo atu he tauhi ofa e a Fiona. O whai o mau lawe ai ho mau ngahi whamili. Lawe ai ngahi seasi. Pea lawe ai ho mau community. He neongo oku i kai tuku e whetukutuku o whai me he mama ko eni ke he mama ka hau. Kau mau whawhetai he e mau ke kau he lau he ofa ai a Fiona. O guongo maari e pē ngahi tapa ke he ho mau koloni. O glau maari le leipe whanau mo whanga mokopuna ho e ki. O le leipe kautaki lotu he ngai funga waka ke. O le leipe ha matapure. O kui kai ongo ha mamahi. Pe o ku mau whaka malo atu ai. Mau wha malo atu ho tuku ke mawausia. Ai wha i tau mahu inga koe ni. O whamanatu ai ai Lavame'a. O whai he e mau whanau he malae o e ako. Tuku e o tua ke mau ngā ue aunga aki. Ai poto moe ilo o ku ke whakateunga aki. Ai whahinga o i tangata. Tuku ke mau whakamua mua ai a Fiona he e mau ngahi wheinga whakaatamai ko toa pē. Pea mau whakamooni ke lau ai tohi same. Koe apasia ki a Fiona, koe kamataanga ia o e poto. Koe mau lotu ia eki, ke whai tapo e kina mai se mau whanau, moi whainga u nau whai he tapa kehe. Pea tuku ke nau ilo ko koe pe ai hala, mo oni pea moi mo ui. Pea ikai ha mea e whainga taa ke a Fiona, ka pau te mau hu mo lotu o kore ke te koe. Whai tapo e kina mai eki ho mau ngahi whamili, pe he ke ngai seas ko toa peu mau kau ki ai. Kau taki lotu ke kei whai whakautu mau ku ho mau whatongia ko talaki ai ngongo lele ai a Fiona. Ke ilo he po uri o kui ai maama whakaotua. Pea ilo he po pula ko ke hoko o pekia ko ia ko mau whakatau ataina. Whai tapo e kina mai ai polo kalama le tioni pea whakamonu ia mai ai ngai tala noa te mau whai ke hoko aunga ia e kaha o e whanau mo i tō tupu. Ma wapai atu ho mau ngai mawhasia o tuku atu ke a Finima o a Fiona. Whakamaa mai pea whakawhainga maari e angi ai ngai whinga ko toa pe o mau whai pea oa nā tuku ke whai ho mau loto kai whai pe ai whinangalo ai a Fiona. Lord, Father of our human family, you created all human beings equal in dignity. Pour forth into our hearts a fraternal spirit and inspiring us a dream of renewed encounter, dialogue, justice, and peace. Move us to create healthier societies and a more dignified world. A world without hunger, poverty, violence, and war. May our hearts be open to all the peoples and nations of the earth. May we recognize the goodness and beauty that you have sown in each of us, and thus forge bonds of unity, common practice, common projects, and shared dreams. Longa hangahi mea o ku ikai mausia e maulot vai, whakamomore kai whakakato mai e mauta e kakato. Maulotu mo kore ngahi meani e huafa sisu kalais kako maufa mo ui. Amen.
Tapua pau ke utu o tamaki koko e pe neu hao hai. Ko hai e lau
whawheta e koe lawaleleia e konga uloaki ko ia e tau polokalama. I ono whahoko atu e whailuma a whiaki a e lotu tataki ko ia o e polokalama o e whiawhini. Au kai whamalo me loto honga ia ko e kaunga whiawhia whakataha ko ngā ko whaiwhia kauluma na e toki lava foki a e tānaktunga ko ia i he wike ko o sihe a tāwhitu. Ai ana graduate mai pa me he apiako tui tapu ko ia ko i loa ko Commencement Theological Seminary i California. Pea ko inga ko e tau polokalama ia o e whiawhini, ko e Ngaahi Lavame'a e kai ke ngata foki ai, ka ko e haha Ngaahi whakaloto lahi te tau whai ke tau vahe mo tau kau ngā whanonga. Pea i kai ngā tai, ko e mahina whoki ene i loa ai whai ai whakahoko o e tānaktu o ngai Amerikani, pe he whoki ki Sune. Aia ko e wike ua Sune, ko e osia ai ngahi tānaktu o ngā. Pea ko ia ki mo ake mahoko atu, ko koreangi mo ake tā e tuene ngai whi whasi maalie ko ia ai o atu ai ki whai whas koe ni pia me he whiwa whangatapu, pia osi koe ia ki mene te taha mi te wa miheni, ko tātou e hoko atu lewa, ke whawhakapotala no me tō tahani. E hawhi tō tonu ko ia, pe koe toi kuata koe ke whitu, te tau kau whatahai me konsela seneale, e ki sela tōkia, ko ngā kene mai ngai whaikai ki iki, pe kau aki, pia mo tuunga ko koe whewholau aki me Amerikani ki Tonga. Pe kai ke ngatai, koe mo ne pōpō aki whaloto lahi, ki he kau wha osiako. Pea i hako te tonu ko ia ai whitu, te tau kau ai pa mo e taha o e ki i whewhine, i he tau wahi ngani. Me he whamiri he wha, ai ako Maria Wright, o whewhine whakeno o te li, Wright, pea kone osi mai pa me he university. Pea koe konga hono wā lewa, e tau whaosinga tau programa, tau kau ai pa mai whiwhine o amanake whakamau ke mau ahono matai tohi filosofia, ai ko Esteri Hafoka, pea me he university i loa ko ia i Amerikani, ko Stanford University i California. Pea ko ia te ai pe mga tāna ki toka pa o kia ha mowhiu i lola tonga o whim ku tuwange mai he konsela, pea ko ia ange ko ngai whakaloto lahi pa mo ngai pōpoaki, ko inga ko whailuma whiaki ene o ko malolo tonga whakahoko polokalama te taimini. Mo tok whakahoko hoko atai pe akinau tolu mo ngai whanonga ki he whiawhini. Malo.
Tampa i e pouli, ako no ka sauhina, tua hoa e la vitonga, mone fetuia, kiemba i e sono, mata onde cima, canela e kuotanga, sino i andegita, siota lei puni, io moe fakina, mui hakuloto, kao poe makina, anu kualopa, moe veili siliva, koe laulota, taulanga pakehele, antahiti ei taku, koe sosaiete, koe hau tope, koe mau pele, ete hekasia mai, ako no matangilele, kane omoia, uo whakatawele, ai o whaoku, tapu ke toe movete, kie olive oku, tatu malele, kano kato elele, oku ongo keke, i ke nusi pepa Tala o ka ua i Whakalata e kula Kiwa e me ngana iki Ko e whane whaanga Ko e whiwa iki I se isa o toloto Fie laka e taimi Ka kuolitanga Na whaalo Kei lala, ako ay inisenisi, te kinaisi, katamay o kufi, sai besitonga, si ueli pasifiki.
Whamalo atu heni koe ngā koe lawa ki tau kei kawhataha i he konga uloa ki. Ko motolu koe nai toki huto mui mai, nai ta taki whoki pasta luma whiaki ai lotu kamata, pia koe nuk tau hoka tu lewa ke tau konga hono wa. Na motoki mea mai a ke whasmali e koe nai o atu me he fuiwa o whangatapu. Koe a koe whainga mali e koe ni, koe talanoa whoki eni ke Ngaahi Lavame'a. Ko whai luma whiaki, na ane toki osi mai pia me he apiako ko ia, koe apiako ko ia i loa i California, koe Commencement Theological College, aia o kutu i California, pia koe lava leleni o mao au no matai tohi ko ia i Master of Divinity. Ka ko whai luma, koe tō tahani, nai tau keipi e malai o ia koko ngā koe ne tangata e ki nai whaiako pe moia i Hawaii. Koe haa moa ka na ne whaiako taulahi i he ako i Hawaii. Pea na e ako i pea aluma i he high school i Hawaii. Pea toi mawai pe pa mono Bachelor of Arts i Human Service. Pea major foki i he psychology o Maumi University ko ia o Phoenix. Pea ko ia ko whamalo, malo lelei luma ko Fifita e whakamari e koe ni. Luma whange moha talanoa ki he hae uhinga na ke toi whi mawai ki ke hoko atu o ke loto lahi o ke a usia ai wha osi ako koe ni ke hoko atu ko a whaiwhekau i he kahau malo. We can hear it. Oh, iyo. Ka takpe luma koe ke ongo mai ke unmute mai o telefoni.
Iyo, ka ta whamamori.
Malo.
Na mute pe ko i koe whanau. Malo apito tima whenga mare ko mau, ko i ke whaia ki wahe. Ko tui pe mahalo ki he whainga o kunau mahinoi. Ai mara e ko ni ko theology o pau ke whai hoto ui. Pea ko i winga ia na e whai ai whoki ke ako. Ko iu na e whai kia kita. Taulahi na e whai hoku ui, pea taulahi pe na o hanga o te ke i e ui ko ni. Pea whai kau pehe ke utari mua e ui ai e ki kia te au kau alo hoko a te ngau ai ako. Pea ko e taha e ne mea na require ko e te alo ako ke mao e te MTiv, pe ko e master pe ia, kai toki lava o te hoko ko e whaiwhekau, kai paupe ke whai e whakahoko ko. Ko ia ko e stepu ia na e toton ke u alo ai, pe ko e mea na e whai ai ako.
Ia. Ia. Malo o pito luma, ai whakaloto lahi. Koe hanai ha mea o ke pehe na e mahu inga ka koe i he taimi ko ia o hoko atu koe ni i he mala e koe ni o ia ko ilo ka mea whai ngofua ni. Ko tawa mai whakeni ke ki tau ki mato o tuane koe ki tau i he o ngofu tupu puka tolu ngofulu. Ka na e vili taki pea koe hae mea na ke pehe na e tokoni lahi kia te koe ke hanga whakakakato ai whakahoko ako koe ni.
Malo ko hange ko whakalea tima. Ko puputu o ia whakauka mo atamana ia I ko wi hange ko lawe ko tawa o ke tau motu a pea o kai ke fu masila tu whanga pe whatapu atamai ke hange ko taimi ko ka ko wi nai mahu inga ia ke te au ai ui nai whai he eiki ke o whai ai ngā ue pea ko pāwai pe ke o kalu se whai mo ue o whai ai ako. Ka koutou ko mea mahu inga taha pe ko te nofo mao ke eiki, whalala ke eiki, pea ko mea taha ko te oa te foi. He ko taimi lahi hoko ai ngahi mea mei tua, hoko ia ko distraction. Pea aloa tau whakaukau, pea kai ke lava ke tau focus, ki he ako ko tau whai. Ka ko tui mahalo ko mea mahu inga taha pe ke whanau, ko keep focus ki he goal, pe ko mea ko ke aim ki ai, ke oa na a foi, pe hoko hanga I mea me tua, distraction, me tua ke hoko ia ko mau anga, ai ako whai. Kai, I think ko mea mahu inga ia ke ilo e whanau ako.
Malo o pito hoko ke whaloto lahi pia ki mo e tahu katu ko si I whē whakarea peka ki nau tolu kono nau tala monu mai mere piu tau malo o pito kau mai mo nau whakarea mai ko malo tamasi tonga ka rini Fifita pia pe whaki mere pori Gonzales ki California malo e kau mai Elisabetta Manatu Filomena Tisusu pa pe whaki a Nancy and Loloma mo Filipa Claire, Manase Lua all the way ki Nusila malo o pito kau mai, Ottilie Wright, ko e hu mai e tau tahinea Maria Wright I he hokoto tonu ko ia ai fitu. Ko e taha ene whae pia mo ene pōpō ki ene whanau ko ene te waki ai whamanatu o ene wha osiako mo ia osia lahi ko ene. Pea moki motau ko ta pilo toni wha more more kai ki lava sio kātou ko mo ngahi ungoa. Ka toko lahi au pito a ki nau tau koe lotoni. Pa koe nuk lahi e tala monu mai ki a te koe luma. Mo e kau ngā whiawhia I he wha osia koe ni. Te tuka te whenga maari koe ni luma koe hanai hao whakaloto lahi. Ko I ngā koe tatau pe whanau wako me high school o mo ngahi lau toi CE o alua kai ke korisi. Koe hanai ko hao whaloto lahi ko koe wha Vea hange ko lau, neongo ko a o tau ia tau motua, kana I kai pe ke fo I ko ia pe pehe ke tuka I ho whakaukau, na viritaki pe holoto ke whakaako. Pea koe lewa ko ke a ki ai. Koe hanai hao popoaki mo hao vahe ke o atu ki he kau ngā whanongo ko toa pe, tatau pe mātua pea mo e whanau, pe te tuku atu ka koe, malo.
Ko ia hange ko whare ade nei, ko tui mahalo ko me mahu inga taha, ko tuku haa te tau mua, pa te viri taki ki ai. Tatau ai pe hange ko whalea, tai men iau tau pehe ko tau osi motua, pe ko osi tau mau a hoa moi whanau, pe ko tō mui ke whae ako. Hange ko lai palangi, it's never too late. Nau whao si ako a wia moi toke tā ofa wepi, maa ko ofa ko whiawhia fitungo fulu. Kau kai ke tuku ai a e wheinga ki he malai o ako. Ko ia koe whaloto lahi ke whanau ka o maa whoki whahinga o nau pehe o nau ostau motua. Wai taimi e pehe ai whahinga o kai ke fu lelei whakaata mai o kui ai pe ngahi avenue ke he kehe ia o malai o ako. You have to be proactive. Ke te whenga pe ki take oa te whalala holo ke ha kakai. Ma o kui ai pe taimi o tokoni ai kakai, ka ku koko ia te ke whemau apito ke proactive ke alo o whenga ke mea ko ke o hotau mua. O te ke don't limit yourself. Reach for the highest that you can. He kowi o kulahi pe ai avenue o kulawa ke te huai ka ko kita pe ko te whekumi ki ai. Kai oa pe mamao ai lotu me a te koe. E koe taimi lahi ko ngongo ia o ku te hange ko vai pe ko lo ke me te foi. O tau tapa pe ke e ki ka e tokoni mai e ki kia kita. Ko ia pe malo tima.
Malo o pito, hange koe au ke whamatala mai ko tū koe whaloto lahi pe ia, oua te tau foi. E ko e ngā ko tau vai a ngā pe ia, ko te pepe ki ta koe tau foi, koe ia lumai, pe te ngāta i pe ai. Ko e tala noa koe na luma ko o mai, hange pe koe kau matao tau, hange koe kau whaiwhi kau, ko e nau malanga pe koe nau pe o ku kei taimi pe ai mea kotoa pe. Ko pe te ke loto aki, whalala pe ke eki, whai pe koho tau le reitaha, ho le reitaha pe ai o tua no whakakakato mai o tau ngatanga, e? Hange koe pe koe ne luma, na e tui pe mo whalala ki ne lotu, pe a nofo pe ai, o viritaki pe ai ki ne ausia ai whakakakato o ene whengako, pe a koe ai luma, we do give you a big shout out. Congratulations, from your graduation from Claremont Theological Seminary in California. O mau pole whakai ko ngā ko lumana mau lot whataha pe i ki whai angalotu na mau iai pe heni i wahenga seato. Pe a mau whiwhia ko ngā ko e tokotahani whoki i he mla e ko ia o e lotu ko ia ai metotisi. Pe a ku hoko ia ko e whamaama ke oa te tau whoi. Ka tau whai peho tau le reitaha. Pea ko kita pe te hanga whakaikuna e te whenga. Pea toki tāpo ki tahe o tua. Koia luma, e?
Koia tima. Ko loto lahi pe ko te hanga pe kita o tala o kai ke te lava. Pako ia pe ia. Once you said to yourself you can't do it, you won't do it. You have to stay positive and say I can do it. Malo tima.
Iyo, whamalo atu luma, pea makore atu peke ki nofo peheni ko inga kai i kau whaosiako, ko inga ko tui pe eho ko koe pea moe tau lahi ia o ku wāmama o aki mo ki nau tolu, ko tui ki tau whanonga pe ki ai, pea ko e hoko pe koe wha ea ko naka ki nau tolu. Ko whailo mawhoki o ku mauhoa ia ki a apakasi a whiaki i Seattle, Washington, ka koe hapai masani e pepa mole e pea luma ki hapai masani. Ko ia e tā ia te pene fo i fasi fo i hiva whikaua ko ia ai fui wa whangatapu. Pea osi ko ia patau hoko atu e peheni ki he tau kongharo no wa maha utatari mai konsela me loto. Malo.
Hella semmo e heilala Whatakau i e funga atalanga Alaka o e kaloni papa E mutanga sia sola o kutaka Kofa siguni moe fa Alangi toto moe o tu taulana Tofa soi fua vai popua He kuo ki te ua fugona He haha kuo ki te ua fugona Fiu fifili ki eve Kai kakala na pe o kuite Kako hai ki tani kege E isa tau kui e kolosia le Tofa sinuni moe fa Alangi toto moe o tu taulala E tofa soi fua vai popua E kuo ki te ua fugona E haha kuo ki te ua fugona
Ko ko ia ka ngahi ope ngahi hiwa maali ko ia ai fuiwa whangatapu. Ka koe tahafu kia ngahi ma i moa ko ia ai la a ko ngā whanua. Tahine ko Queen Salote. Ko ni tau maa whainga maali i he taimini pia mo e tau konselatonga. Ai a ko selatu kia pia tau whamalo kia te ia hi tuko no taimi. Neonga ko ne fo i hono whenga i ke viritaki ke kau mahi tau polkalama. Ka ko mau whamalo atu. Sela, malo e lau maria whitu una pia mau whiawhia ko kau mai. Ko e mea ko tokanga mai kia e tokolahi. Ko e anga ko e tuunga o e whewholau aki mei Amerikani ki Tonga. Pia au ko mau whakaamu pe ke hanga tuku whahanga tonu mai. Pia ko e film o e mau polokalama, film of the month. Ko e ngahi Lavame'a i malae o e ako pa ko tui. E whiawhia e tau whanau tonga ko toa peo a o ke hange ko toa taha koe ne ka mata lotu. Na ne toki mahono Master of Divinity pia me he Claremont Theological Seminary. Ke o atu peha o pōpak whalo to lahi o ki he kainga tonga. Malo.
Malo au pito Silvia, pea o te ke whiu he viritaki ke tau ke mauafe mai o kau hopolo kalama, pea o ki ai whia makehe ko ngā koe o mai whainga maari e koe ni, ke whai e afe mai i he ke pāengani i he whia whakolo koe ni. Ka tuku mua ke u kolepe ke u whangat i he ngahi tala whakatapu kakato o e whunua pea mo e lotu, ai whakahoko at me he polo kalama koe o le tioni. Ka ata mo oku ke u kau i e polo kalama mo vai vaheat i he ongo tawhaaki koni oku ke lawe mai ki ai. Pea o kou tuku ai pe ai whawhetai ki he tamai he vani ko ngā koe ne kei tau hi hao mai e tau ngahi mo ui taktaha o tau a usia ai. Ko tau hanga atu a tau tolu ki wike ka hau ko whakausi ngā nyome. Ko osi ene mahina ni mai tau koe ni mea koe vave ai alu ai taimi. Ka tau kei tuku ai pe ai whawhetai mo e kololia ki e lang tau pot ko ngā koe ne kei tau lama hao mai e tau ngai mo ui ke tau whemataki i he whia whakolo koe ni. Te urua ki lawe ki e tuunga koko o kui ai kau a whonua mei tonga. Ange pe koe tau ngai palokalama na te awhi mai ai ki mu ange. Ko tui koe ngahi ongo ko mau mai mei tonga whakamui taha i he weekendi. Aia o ku kei lau pe a tonga o ku kei tāpuni ai kau a whonua. Pea koe uhinga a hano whakalea whakamatala pehei. Koe uhinga o ku te kai ke tau lava tau tolu o wholau ki tonga o kei tāpuni pe pota. Te kai ke tau lava wholau ki tonga i he whaunga anga maheni kokoe na tauanga kokoe ki ai ki mua i he COVID. Aia o uhinga aia o kui ai whaunga ai pure anga ko pau ke te mui ko ngā ka te lava o tok wholau ai ki tonga. Pea neongo ia o tau tui e tau wakai ki mui ke tau ko osi oa o maien ki me o wanoa uowa. Ko whakangaloku lahi au pito, angai whakataptapui na e whekau aki pea mo e kau a whonua. Aia o ku koe au mai koe ke weekendi, koe whakamahino mai koe mei tonga, aia koe potunga au e koe o ne toka ngā i koe e te kole koe ai ngofua ki te wholau o whoki koe ki tonga, aia koe potunga au e mo ui ia i he tainimi. Koe tu koe tainimi kua osi whakahoko mai ai taim te pile ki he uwaka, aia o wholau hifo mei Fisi, Nusila, pea mo Australia ki he mahina koe ni o sune. Ai koe tu koe a maasi koe he taini ki me e wha mole mole, o ku ikai ke toi ai havaka koe hanganaki atueni ki sune. Aia o peheni. Ko Nusila o ku iai e waka, me Nusila me o kalani ki tonga i he aho uwaki, aho tahaono, pea mo aho tolunoa o sune. Ko Australia, o whakaanganga, koe waka e tolu mo ia, e aho uwaki, aho tahanima, pea mo aho wahiva o sune. Pea ko Fisi lewa, na whai mai ai pōtala noa koe mo tonga na whakaanganga, koe waka e tolu. Ka ko mahino mai he weekendi, koe waka pe e taha, me Fisi ki tonga, aia koe aho tolu noa ia o sune. o whape ko mau mea mai o mau e u aho ko ia, ko tui katoe whia mau pe, ai ngai whakaiki ko ni o atape, ke mo kata ko whetu tak mai ki office konsela, ko whika telefoni, ko ono ni manoa, ono val nima, taha noa, noa taha. Sa iene pehe, ko e wholau atu ko mei Amerikani ko ki he whonua e tolu ko ni, ko uruaki o ku saia fisi, o inga o whaingo fuangi, o ku ikai ke whiema o ha visa tu uta ki ai, ai passport tonga pe ko passport Amerika. Ko nusila pe mo Australia, hange pe mo mea e hanga maheni, ku osi ata ai wholau ko aki ai passport Amerika, ki nusila mo Australia, o pe ai ki visa, o ko electronic travel arrangement, o te hanga o whakahu online ni pe mai pe ai tari i hoa ua wha, ko te ngofua ke te lava tu uta aki ki nusila pe mo Australia. Mea pango foki ko tau passport tonga, u pau pe ke apply ai visa ki nusila pe mo Australia. Pe ko nusila aia, o whakawhehonaki ki he kakai tonga, nau whakaam ke wholau ki nusila ko koe me Amerikani, i e time koe ni, o kei whemau pe ke apply ai visa makehe, nga ka te lava tu uta ki nusila, pa te talo ai pe ki tonga. Ko ngai kore ngofua ko ni ke te wholau ki nusila pe mo Australia, e passport tonga, o kumau tokonia, a ki mautol ko tō pe mo whema o hatokoni pe koe wharei, o ku whai ko tō atuia me he office konsela, ma whiwhia, pe mo kau ngawe mo lisa, ke taria ha mo ngai whehui, pe tokoni ki mautol i he ngahi ta whaaki ko ni. Koe whamea, anga maheni ko whema ki apply visa ko ia, koe whema ke veri te passporti, ke mahina e ono pe lahiange, whema mo la ita, whemau ke nau wakai ke tiki te wholau, pe au nau whemau ke te whakaha, o kuai pe ai ki seniti, o te lava fua aki e te nofo i nusila, pe mo Australia pe foki. Pa ko wha mau inga koko, o ku whakasio koko he ongo immigration ni, ko ngā ka lava tari e te visa, o whemau ke asi e te toi panke, o ku iai ai tola e tahawhi Amerika, pe toi lahiangi. Ko ngai whika e ko o nau whakasio o whakawhiamaria ka ki nau tolu ka nau lava o tā ai visa. Sai, mō mea i pe whoki e tau ngai polokalama ki ngua atu, nai o si whakahoko atu pe, o taim whako o tau wholau atu ai koe mehe i kare o hu whakatonga, pe koe wholau ki nusila, pe ko Australia, pe ko Fisi, te mawahe he aho ko e, pa te toktu uta atu, ke u whonua ko ni he o se ha aho e ua. Pea i hene pehe, o kumau inga peke o hake ho mu e poin koe ni pe mo toka ngā ki ai, e ko o stari foki e tonga ke tau train city atu pe, ai tau wholau atu me Amerikani, pe ko Fisi, Nusila, pe ko Australia. Ai hene pehe, tau pehe koe waka hoko koe i he time te pire koe whakanganga koe a tonga koe tai nini, waka hoko koe me Fisi ki tonga, o ku time te pire i e ki autonu noa ko o sune. Pea i hene pehe, o kumau inga ke mau meai, ka pau te whemau ke te koneki ki he waka ko ia ke te transit pei loto he malai waka puna koe i Nendi i Fisi, e whemau ke te mawahe me Amerikani i he waka i he aho ua walu koko o sune. A ua walu sune, o se aho e ua pa te tu uta atu. Tau atu ki Fisi, ta koe waka koe a whaapuna po uri fok me mei tu apo, o tau heng aho ia i he aho e ua e o se te mawahe koe me Amerikani. Ai te tau atu heng aho, aho tonu noa sune tau pehe, mawahet me ahua walu me Amerikani, tau heng aho aho tonu noa sune, pea koe waka koko mei Fisi koe ki tonga, e puna fokia lo tonga aho, ai tau pehe te transit i pe a ngai hoa si i pe, i loto he malaka puna koe i Nendi. Ke whai i wholau ko ia a transit, upau ke te apply ke mai e ngofua, mei he potungawe mo ui mei tonga, whai toka mua ia, pea, wene mau mai ngofua, ko mea ko whemau ke apply ake ngofua ko ke te transit pe, ko ngā kai ke taloa e te wholau ki tonga, unau whemau ke nau sio ki ho passporti, te ki te wholau, pea mo kāti ko e te huhu malui. E whemau ke te huhu malui, o si whakakato e huhu malui e ua, pea ko sai taha, to sai ange ka pau ko te os whakahoko mo e booster e ua ko ni upu, o kulo tonga a pou ki ai whonuani, Ai ko ngai mea e ave toka mua koe ke kole e te ngofua koe ke te transit pe I Fisi na mo New Zealand pe mo Australia. O sa Fisi koe ke whema o ha visa ka ko New Zealand o whema o te transit visa ai e pau ke apply ia toka mua pa te malawa pe o toko ni atu I he tawhaako ia. Ko tu uta koe ki tonga he tainimi wo os holo ki ai quarantine na aluhifo pe na raki aho ke taha alhake aho taha toi holo hifo ki muini mai aho e fitu pa koe tu koe tainimi koe quarantine koe I he te tu uta koe ki tonga uku aho pe nima ai ko tu fu whakawhia maari e ia Silvia ki anga e tau wakai atu u holo hifo ne quarantine uku aho pe nima pea o kua tāpe ke te tu tape pa te I he quarantine koe na pule anga ai pule ohi ai koe hotele foki koe ai tanoa I polo pea moe hotele koe ni ai Cynic o tu pe ia hanga hake ki he fua motu mana whakapuna pea pe foki makeke ai I lia hona nai te tu koe ia pea ai koe tukunga o ai koe ai quarantine ia taim tatau ko os whaka ata whoka nge pena kwa mata la te ngai polo kalama ki mu ange ko whaka ata he pule anga tonga ke whai self isolate ai ko whai ke ko quarantine o whai I he feitu ko osi wahe I he pule anga pe ko malui e kau security mo le ohi pe ko pe te mea tokoni ki o toloki o tu peitua ngai fonga ko ia ko self isolate ko te lava to ki ap no fo anga ko afna no fo anga ko kai ke to firma o ke no fo ia hatake ko me atau ki ai o no fo ma wai to ko taha pe I ngai ko tu ni ko firma ke self isolate ai ko aho e nima ba ahia te potunga mu ui o fai hono sivi ko mo ahia te pe fa papau o ke no fo ma o pe I he fale ko ni pa ko osko ai time tu ni ai ko aho pe nima pea kapau o ko pasi e te sivi te kei negativi pa te nau whakaata lewa koe ki tua ke whakaau atu. Ai koe tūkunga kui ai e quarantine. Pe koe pe ai ngai tāno sa sala mai ma koutu mo mea I pe na ko asnai I he neti mo ngai ta whakeke ongo o hafua o tokua koe tau hu o atu e nia ki te teu ke whakaawa ai kau whaafu nua ko tonga. Wai nai tāno sa sala pe ko sune wai ngai tāno sa sala mai ko siulai mea pango whamorimo koe ki ulawa whakapapau ia ka tau ongo I pe I he tau holoki koe ni ai quarantine me I he tānima ke au fit ke au nima o ku iai pe ai tunga whakawhia maari ke amana ke whakaawa koe ni koe ai pōta. Pe koe ni tō lahi ki mō tōk mō mea mai ke tau prokalama he whiawhini o ku mō whakatatari pe ka elewa ke whakaawa ka kato ai pōta ka mō si lava pe o fulau tau taina pe ki tonga o hange pe koe kohiri. Pea I ele pe mau whakamalo ia a mō ke whakatatari pe o mō ke mau pe ai kātaki o mō ke mau pe mau inga taha ai lotu o no hufekina o tau ki whonua mo tau monu ia. Nea ngō pe ko hu tō mu ia te maki na tau usmahino I pe ko pau pe ke au ki tonga ka tau tui ko e teu ko whakahoko e pure anga pe mo kau ngau I ngai tawhaaki ko ni ko nau hanga o malui pe mo whakahoko ai ke malu pe mo hao ai tu kunga koko o e kakai pe mo whonua o tonga ai pe ko na e tuku pe ki lang e rakfa pe ene pe koe fia lahi ko ngā ko si mihi ko nau si mua atu I tonga ko hi pe ko maki o ie le volo si au pito toko si au pito o kai ki hange ko ngai whonua kehe na tau whatoka ngā I mai pe tau ko ne ua ko maliu atu ai si au ki atu nau kakai ko ngā pe ko mahaki whakarilifu ko ni ai COVID I tahiwa. Ai ko whamalo ko tui teu ki lepa he I whamatala koe whekau akita moe tukunga ko kui ai koe ai kau awhonua koe mei tonga pea a tāpe I he osi koe kuki whakahoha te ria na ai ha ai wheu I whakahoko mai Silvia pe koe kau ngā pe nolo pe koe ani I he ngalua pe. Ka tupua ke u hawhe ki he ka venga mahu inga o ku whai ki ai vahe koe moe pōtala noa koe o e whiawhi koe ni. Pea mo iai ai whiawhia lahi ko ngā ke mau ai whainga maari e koe ni ka malo atu ai pe Silivia. O koutou ko ka venga mahauinga ko ni ai ako o ku tukloto ia I he family tonga ko to pe. Pe hange pe mo mea I na tau tutupo ke pe I he whakatonga, at least ai tō tangata ko ni koe ai mātu a pe mo tau ngahi kui. Pe ine pe na ia I pe ai whakaamu I he anga koe ai whanonga mai koe tau kakai ko unga ke mau hangai whainga maarie I he tawhaaki koe malai koe o ako ko unga koe tau tui e mau ai hangahi whainga maarie e toi lelei ange ki he whakafoi tui ki he whamiri ko ia ki he siasi ki he kolo pe a moe whanua. Ngai funga waka ke he mo kotoa pe o ku na e tau tala pe me he ane awhi ai ngahi mau inga pe a moe ngahi whainga maarie e malawa ke I kunai ko ngā pe koe malae o e ako. Kai whai mai pe whoke whanonga e tau kakai pe a kui kai koa mea na e whaingo fua. Ko ngā pe neonga pe tau wakai ki he ngai whotutu fis mua na e whai e he kautaki o e whanua. Ko ngā koe ako ia I tonga na e mahu inga au pito. Pe neonga pe na e whe. Ai anga e tuunga koe ai whanua. Whawheho naki ke u whanua whakalakalaka ange. I e tu koe whakalupufua koe a mamani. Ka koe tuunga koe o e ako hange ka pau te tau whakakaukau ki he lautoi pure anga. Tae whakatoka ngā ia e tau tolu ka koe tau tui tau koe whakawhae lelei na tau mau I e tutupu hake koe I tonga. Ko ngā pe koe kauwhai ako pe mo ngai silapa lelei au pito na e o mai o ako I aki ai longa I whanau. Ka neongo ia ko tau mau whoke ngai whainga maari fis mua I anga e tau whenga. Koe tau kauwaha mai ki he whonua hau koe ni koe kumi whonua ua mai. Ko ngā pe ko hangahi whainga maari ki a malai au ako I ngā ue I me whakawhale mahaki na e whai mai ai e tau whenga mai ki whonuani. Pe koe ai whia lahi. Hange koe vai koe no whai ka hoko mai e luma mataire. Kau ngā penolo koe whia whini. Ko ngā koe a usia. Ko mou mau I he malai o ako. Paku ko whia make hea ko ngā koe ako ia. O kui kai ke pehe ia. Ke tawhataha pe ma ai kau to ui ki to tupu e nau aluhake. Koe ako ia o te lava pe kita o whakahoko ai ako I whainga taimi pe te mo ui. Pe koe ako ia koe wiritaki koe ke mau halele iange ko unga I he malai koe o ako. Ko whakahoko pe ia ko unga koe ke ngata pe no toko nia kita whakafoi tui. Ka koe unga ko hangahi lelei ange pe ko lave at ki ai vai atu e mau ma ai family ma ai siasi ma ai kolo pe mo fonua foki ka kui ai fia lahi mo tala monu atu ka ki mo tol ko to pe o amanaki mo whaka ausi ako I he whaita uako ko ni amanaki ke tau situa ki ai pe ko tāna ko whaam ki vai atu ai na whanau ke whakatala noa mai koe luma koe mua pauto ki awhe mai ki polo kalama. Koe hei tala noa maari na e whakahoko mai I he tangata eitu na te tutupu hake ai. Pea na si monu ia na e mau e ki whainga maari ke lava atu ki muri o toi whakaosi ai whanki whenga ako na e kamata I peitonga. Pea koe ngai tala noa na e whakahoko mai ko ngā pe koe I kai ke ai ha mea whakapaanga whiunga. Ko ui ngā ke whai aki koe ai ngahi kumi ai nau, ai nofo, pea moe ngai mau mea toko ni e taim koe e ako, pea koe ngai tānoa na ku tukloto I mau pe, ai ne vahe, ko ngā pe koe kai ke whiunga ki koe ni koe na e tuku mai I he whainga maari e ako koe ni. Ko ngā koe mau koe mea toko ni koe ho ata I ako to pe. Tu koe ai koe ni koe aki ngai mea ke nofo koe mea pena e mau koe ki hina inu vai momoko pe ka ke te mea mau paku hange ko o ku wongo make he e te whakaukau ke ngai whenga ko whai. Pea hange pe koe vai mai koe ni alima. O ku iai ai ngai mea o ku kalu se whai. Pea pau ke te kei viritaki ke tau mua koko o ku whai ki ai ai ako. Pea mo whakaamu ke tau whanua. Ke mau ai ki lai pepa koko o whai ki ai whenga. Ko inga tene hanga o whakaawa ai ngai matapā ke kehe. O ngai matapā lalahi angi ke whai ai hu ke mau mai hangahi whainga maarie. Koe ke hinga pēr ma au, hinga mai whamiri, siasi, kolo pēr moi whanua. Pēr ne pehe, koe tala monua ke ni koe nuk amanaki ke nau whakaosiako koe i he tau whakaako koe ni, moe whakamalo ia i he ngāwe lahi ko wheia. Pēr moe tau kei te kaki mau pē, ki he eiki, tau whakamalo, moe tau tui, moe whalala, koe mea kotoa pē, kune os whakotutu, pe koe ai taimi, pe moe whaunga, kune os kotofa, ki whakahoko kotoa ai ngahi misi, ne whakamohe mei ulu i he kohiri. O monu ia au pito, ai tau tupu moe ni kotoa pē, o kuna umau whainga maarie ke toe whai hangahi ako, i fu whanua hau koe ni, koe nga, koe whai ke fu whanua ia koe ni, mahino, o toe matala angi ai anga e nau hanga o whututu e nau whaunga ki he ako, pea nau toe hanga o toe whakaloloto, ai ngahi ta whaaki koe koe no whai kai ai mala e koe o e ako, o te lava o toe hoko ato specialize i ngahi ta whaaki kehe o umala e. Pea koe fia lah, koe tā monua ka ki mou tolu, mo whakatawange pe ke mou kei whakamoa mua mau pe ai eiki, pa ke mou tui, mo whalala kakato ki ai, he tene tataki mou tolu. Koe mea, koe koto kula noa, ai mau ai poto whakaata mai, i e mamani koe ni koe ngā kapau, kui kai ke tau kei mau pe ai eiki, ke tau whamoa mua ai he tau mo ui, he tene tataki tau tolu, pe tene hanga o whakotutu, ai tau whanonga, koe ngā ke whainga maarie pe, pe ke lelei, pe ke tau wa usia, ai ngahi whakaamu kotoa pe, ku tau whakahoko me he kohiri. Pea koutui, koe ki vai pe ko whakaamu ki whakahoko atu i he whia whakolo koe ni, na ku wakai pe i he neti, i he wike koe ni e tolu koe kohiri ange, mo amanaki e whakahoko mai, ko Bay Area en, te ren, o ko wakai, o kuiai e kau toke tā e toko whā, e sirivia, kunau mau e nau whakailonga ako i he whaha i tau koe ni koe no kulotonga whai koe graduate. Pe a kou fia no o kou lawe i peo ko o si ai ngai kau toke tā ki mua. Pe koe mo kau toke tā i ngai wheitu ke he i Amerikani. O koe toke tā whakasino, koe toke tā i ngai malae. Pe koe fia make ku hoko ai ni ihi koe ni ke nau hoko ko hangahi mama. O nau hulungia, ai hala, ma ai ni ihi koe o nau kei whainga hake koe, pe koa ni o te kai ke nau whakakau nau tolu, ke nau whakahoko ai ngai whainga maarie koe ni. Ko e tau whainga mai ki he ni, ke tau whainga ke whakalakalakai e tau mo ui, ko ngā koe tanga e tau nofo, o tau ngai whatongia, o tau whakahoko. Pea o tau tui, ko kau ai ako i he ki, tene ha o avangi, e matapā, ma ki tau tolu, ki tau hanga o au sia, ai ngahi misi, ai dream, na tau whakaamu, ki tau wau ki ai, i he tau whenga mai ki whonuan. Pak mahino pe, o ku whainga tā ai he taim lah, ko ngahi tau mele mo tau toi ngahi mea whakaaho, o tau wai tau ngawe pā-taimi, o ku toi kore mai ngahi whae koe ke te hua to ki stand by atu e nau whanki ngawe, pak te iai ki tai pa te ala he paanga, pe mo le lewa, ai tau mu ai mo ongo koko ke whakahoko e ako. Te mau, hange pe koe vai koe naluma, tau hanga o whakotu, ai ngahi mea koe ni, ai ngai whakaamu koe ni ki mua, pea tau lotua, ngā te kaki kotoa ke eiki, ke ne kau mo ki tau tolu, ke whakahoko, ai ngahi mea whungani koe ni ku tau munu ia ke tau lawe ai i whonuani. Ka koutui, ko lahi e vai, whamaloa toi pe sirivia, si viri taki pe ke te awhi mai, malo si te taria i pine motua tā pasport. Koe, ko wheunga au pito pe mo koe, pe whamole pe whaatalau i atu. Ka te ki le pahe, ko fulahe tōk. Lewe whahoa malo.
Kai whamalo lahi au pito atu e constelación yare, o ku honga au pito. Pea o ku futo lahi au pito, O ko toki aloha kia ia ki he pesa ele te o ia. O ku maha koe toko ni mango furu tupu ni au ki loto ka ki kai ki ka koe pesa benia a ko sio ai. Pea o nau whakarea mai koe ni o ku whahako mai Olimpia wa ke tuk tau. O whātu e konsela ko Florini Puloka. O ku ne pehe mai malo whakamama na o te waki. Mahalo ke wholau ki tonga pea koe ni ku ne mao ai whamatala le rei koe ni na aiki ai ne whehu i ka koe na ko ke tari katoa. Ai whonga ai whoki tonga. Ku tolai au pito ka mo more more pe o whaka ki motolo o wha wepi as na te tipulot lo le sia a te aloa whenuki makasini ma loa pitanga tai ke kau mai me le seini wha ari lea tau fui Sela Sawaki whala e tiaki Lily Jackson Moala Lino sa lo te tau malolo kai aha mo whehui lava peke mo tohi mai i he la peka pa mo whetutaki mai peke he wanoa ono tolu no anima valuo o ua. Ka taki neta o tuku atu pena, ka tahaya ku whewhahako mai. Pea ko ia tamasi tonga, Filomena, Kalin Fifita, mele Pitau, Elizabeth Manatu, Nancy N. Manaselua, mele Poli Gonzales, Kevin Lorie, Sonny F. Pauni. Kai ke lava o mau kotoa ho mo Ngaahi o ngoa. Ka koe toko lahi au pito, ak nau tolu ko inga koe o ngongo mahu inga koe nuk whewhanongo kia e kakai. Ai whekau aki pea moe wholau ki tonga ko ngā ko lahi tau whoke tuk waka e whengani ihi pea ko nau whakaam ke nau whoki ki api o wau ki he go back to the home paradise. Whamalo atu konsela ko ki whehu i pēne taha ai toko taha koe ni ne text mai ko kore mai pe mua. Ka paurewa o ku iai ha a te apsia pa te loto pe ki te kauwhataha i he wholau atu pea moe te mea whaka eiki. O te iai ha Ngaahi me a tu ni makehe pe koe Ngaahi me a tatau ai pe o hange pe ko ni koe ka pau te wholau ai pe ki te alo o wholau e te mea whaka eiki ki tonga.
Oia, malo au pito Silvia pe ku tu whaloto lahi kia ki mau tolu whai whatongia mai mehe le ti o, kai pehe whoki au, ai si toko lahi e ni o nau mea mai i he ngalua pe pea. Whatawange pe ki au ngā peha ngai mea, tuku atu he whiawhini. Koe whehui mahu inga au pito ena ko o mai ki he ofisi talu e hoko koe ni ai ko witi taha hiwa. Pea koe au mai koe ki he tainimi, koe mea ia ko whakamamafa atu pe ko ngā ke mou meai, o ku kei lau pe whoke atonga o ku tāpuni e kau āwhonua. Pe ku kei lau pe koe close borders. Neongo pe o ku iai ai Ngaahi waka, ai koe na waiwahe atu, o ku lava ke puna atu me Nusila Asteria mo fisi. I he me talu me tau ko osi o hoko atu koe. Ka neongo ia o ku iai whoke ai whonga. Ko ngā kei lau pe koe tāpuni a kau āwhonua, o ku iai whonga e pule anga o nau tutu mai. Ko pau ke tau mui mui ka te lava wholau ki tonga. Ai ko taimi koe e awangi ai koe ai kau āwhonua pe whakaawa e pōta. Tau whoki lewa ki whonga anga maheni koe kua hiri. Eke mouto e whetu takiang mouto ki office pe ka. Koe whai pe koe i ho whonga pe koe anga maheni koe whaarea ai ko ho wholau ki mua. Pe ko o tā pe au hanga tonu ki e Pasifiki pe koe Fiji pe koe e Nusila. Pe ko lomi he interneti, o kumi ho tiki te wholau, papapau i o ku aonga pepe veri te ho passporti, pe mo booking a to hotel, e ka pau whiema, mga ta whaako e, pe tawa taina pe ho mea atu koe ki tonga. Ka i tainimi, ko ngau kei lau pe o ku kei tāpuni ai kau āwhonua, ai ko ngai whonga wholau koe ki e tau Ngaahi mea whakaeiki, ai ko whakahaele atu koe mea Amerikani koe ki tonga. Ko ngā whoko ku kei tāpuni ai kau āwhonua, mea pango, pe koe pe koe whamore at ka koe kei whai pe ai leilehi e kau taki mei tonga, ai whonga koe ko ngā whoko o si tu loto whonua at whoki ai maha ki tonga. Bene pehe, koe tari koe ke whehui koe ni, o te ki ai ke whai ngā maalie, ke lava ai mui koe i he te whakaeiki. Ka neongo ia, halo pepe na mo mea mai ane nai, nai whai whoke ku ki lave ki he Trend City ko osi ata, ko osi whaka ata. Aia, teu ki holomui si peke mea koe na tok setes koe na tok tuku atu. Tau pehe, ukui ai ho mea whaka eiki, pea o koe tala, o whaka amu ki whaka haere ki tonga. Pea ko os mai no pe whoko taini koe e whaka haere a mea whaka eiki tonga, e pau peke ki aleai, ai Ngaahi whaunga ko ia ke kiri pe ki mui ko nga ke ma time feunga ke fai ai potala no ko mo fare mate pe mo tava kapuna pe mo family foki ai ne pe ka pau ko ha me fai tau pe tau palanien ke whakahaere tau pehe hawi ke ua mihi tai nini. Sai pa ko time ko ya, uku whai ai koe ai palani koe mo alea koe koe ai whare mate, alea loka lewa ki he kautahawa ka puna. E malawa pe ke alea ai, ki he tuunga, koe ha koe ai waka koe e whakahaere ai whakaeiki, tau pehe me Frisco, ki LA, pea fou lewa ki Fisi, pea os pe pa whakahaere ai pe ki Tonga, ko ngā ke koneki, e lava pe, ke folau whakataha pea mo mea whakaeiki, ka ke aia, kuhinga ia te ke transit, ka pau foki alea, i kotoa umea koe niki mua, ke o mai e ngofua me i Tonga, ke whakaata koe ke transit, ka oku malava pe, aia whakamore more, ko lo ofa pe kui kai ke nge ko tō mokaki eku vahe, ka au malava pe ke folau pe moho mea whakaeiki. Ka pau ke kore toka mua, ai ngofua, pe pau ke te transit pe, i e whonua ko ini ai tau pe ko Fis, New Zealand, Australia. Ai tau pe he, hange ko waka koko ki Fisi, o kusai foka visi, hange ko vahe, o kui foke fie ma o ha visa ia. Ai ka koe mea pango foko fo i lele atua koe ni koe waka hoko pe me fiski tonga i aho tolu noa ko sune. U tau tui foki, u kui ke tau toi fu fie mau, ke whakahifo ai whakaeiki i a taha e ufonua koe ni. Ke ngata pe whakamore, ka pau foki toi ave, ai pua mate ki tua, pe toi whakakusai ange pe hono tuku pe i loto he malaka puna, ku ngau kei aisi pe, pe kei whakatolonga i pe, ai tau whakaeiki ke no ave ki tonga. So whakatawange pe, o kune tali atu e whehui koe ni, pa te malawa o toko ni i atu ki mautolu, ka pau, o koe mo ngai whehui, pa mo whemau ke whakahoko a mea ko ia, ke si whakawhe au, ki ho whakaeiki, ki heno ave koe ki tonga. Ai koe whika telefoni o office konsela, hono ni manoa, hono wau nima, tanu noa ta. Malo.
Kataki pe konsela koe telefoni koe ono ni manoa, ono wau nima.
Taha noa ta.
Taha noa taha ai. Ko ngā kau te aha mo whehu i te mo lava pe o tā whakanga tonu ki ai. Pea ka pate mo whetu taki atu o ko i kai ke tari mai ai telefoni. Lava pe ki tukata mo hingoa mo whika telefoni ke whakafoki atu o ko wawe au pito pe ai whetu taki ki ai. Ono ni manoa koe na e tuku atu i he ata. Ono ni manoa, ono wau nima taha noa taha. Ko i whika telefonia ai ofisi o e konsela. Whamalo tenu ka ki motoko ta pe loto ni ka taki pe o ko ki lahi e ho mai ko ala ke nia ke ono ko futupu. Sa lo te tau malolo pito kau mai mele kalaoni te rilo pe a pe foki ki a tauwha malo pito mo kau mai. Ka te u foki ki heni ko i ngā koe whainga marie ko whehu i ene o mai mea moala lino. Ka taki tahine konsela e ku lava nei ke ai ha passport i Tonga ha whanau citizeni US. Mahalo na e whai na e kau mua uia i he whinga e ku ki passport e ku ki i foha o ku nofo atu i Fisi. Ka te tukat pe ke konsela koe mea lelei foki ke tau mao hanga tonu pe ai ngahi whakahino mo ngahi information. Malo.
Malo au pito, pea koe whehu i ene o ku mahu inga pea wha o mai pe, ko ngā ki a ki maua pea ma whiawhia au pito ke wahe atu e tari koe ki ai. Ai koe tolai foki e tau tolu ko tau kum whanua ua mai ke whanuani, ai e na esi i whanau i e tau whanau heni i Amerikani, hufanga e whakatapu. Pea koe whaunga lewa ki ai, pea mahu inga au pito, ke tau whenga pe ke tau toka ngai kina, a hono mau koe hanau passport Tonga. Ai koe anga koe ai tuu koe ai lau Tonga o peheni. Kana e whanau i e tau whanau i Amerikani ki ha taha i he ongo mātua o kuna citizen Tonga pe na kei mau e na tangata i pe whewhine i punua Tonga. O ku lau lewa ai whanau koe na e whaele i koe ni Amerika. Koe Tonga na e whaele i muri ki ha mātua, taha i he ongo mātua, ai e lava pe i he tamai pe koe whae, o ne kei mau ene tangata I pe whewhinei whanua tonga. Pea I ene pehe ko mea ko whe mau ke whakahoko, o whe mau ke lesi sita, ai whanau koe ni, na whaelei koe ni muri ni, ke lesi sita ki nau tolu ki tonga ke office whai lesi sita, koe uhinga ke Lavame'a hanau tohi tau tonga, pea toki me iai, e lava leva ke apply aki e nau passport tonga. Ai ko mea panga o ku ko lesi sita ko ni ki office whai lesi sita, o ku whai ko toa pe ki tonga. Pa ko taimi ko e mawai ko ai tohi tau tonga, e lava leva ke tok apply e nau passport tonga, o whakafou I he office ko ni o ku whai mea I ai whai patongia, I he Bay Area. Koe fui mea, mahu inga ko I he whanau I koe ne tau whanau I muri ni, o whea mau ke whakapapau I, ko hataha ia moua o ngō mātua, na mo kei hoko pe, pena mo kei mau pe, ho mo citizen tonga, I he taimi ko koe, na e whaele ia I e whanau I tonga, I Amerikani. Pea ka pau ko ia, o kulau I le vai a hange pe koe, na tok vahe atu, koe tau whanau, koe o nau tonga pe nau tolu, ina e whanau I nau tolu ki hataha I hao ngō mātua, na tonga pe, Neo ngoi whaile ki nau tolu I muri ni, ka au whea mau ke le sisita ki nau tolu I tonga, ko ngā ke mau, ai tohi tau tonga, pea os pea patok apply ha nau passport tonga. O ku mamau pe ai lisi, o umea koko ni o whea mau koko ke ave koko ki tonga, ko ngā ke le sisita ake tau whanau, pea mau ai tohi tau tonga, pea koe whaunga e ua, pe tolu tau pehe. Koe uraki, te ke lava pe ko me atu ki tonga, au tonu atu ki office whai le sisita, pea moe ngahi mea koe ni koe o kwhia mau, koe ki whai akono le sisita. Koe uraki whaunga ia. Koe whaunga koho noua, te ke lava whai ai tohi, o whakamawhai I hataha I tonga, whalalaanga, ke ne mea atu ia, o whai ai le sisita koe ni koe ai whanau, aho whanau I tonga. Pe mau pe ke whakaau ki toko taha koe ni, ai ngai mea whakapepa koko o whea mau ki whakahoko aki ai ngāwe mahu inga koe. Pa koe tolu ai whaunga, ai koe te au tonu, whamawhai I hataha, pe koe whaunga hono tolu, o koe pe ki kau taha lao, o koe pe kau loea ta uiki, o mau whakaanga I mo recommend ki ka inga tonga koe ni I kare, pe mau hanga lewa kone ki mau tolu ki anau tolu, pe te mau lava whafafonga I ki mau tolu, o whai e whetu taki, mo whakahoko ngai mea ko mau whia mau, pe o mai mo mahu inga ko e nau sevesi, pe ka pau te ke tali, ai mahu inga ko ia, te ke whakahoko lewa ai mea whakapaanga ki a ki nau tolu, pa te nau whakahoko lewa, ai fo I sevesi mahu inga ko ia, ko e lesi sita, a ho mo whanau I tonga, ki tonga. E nau whahau katota, nau toi mea whakapepa. Aia, ia te koe pe ia ke whiri I he whaunga I tolu koe ni, pea o ma fia ke te whai peha no ki maalangi hatu, ai ngahi mea koko o ku whia mau koe ki he ngau mau inga koe ni. Aia o kuke ramatonga whakahoko e mea koe ni sirivia, pe kuke whai pe whaka eke mai ki alisa, ke ki vahe mai ho au sia, ko tui, e tokoni ke ni koe no mea mai polo kalama.
Ko ia, ko e ki whoha nei whea mau mai ne passport, I ka koe no ke whai pe ngāwe ki ai. Whawhono pe umea kātongana na mō whika mai ki ai, pa koe ni ko lava ke mau mai rewa e ne ngofua rewa me I tonga ko ngā ke Lavame'a aki ke ai ne passporti, ko toi pe ni ke ai ni ki lai tā pea o atu rewa ke mau mai ai passporti. Ka koe mahala koe tō taha ene kune kore mai pe, o te aha mea ka pau te nofo I Amerikani, te aha mea e tokoni mai ai officer consular ki ai, ke toi waweanga a hono whenga e tawa koe ni pa pau ki aha futaha I tonga, o ki aha naha tawa aki te ke molawa o tokoni e ke whakawhetu taki koe ki tonga, ke mao ai koe na ange koe lesisita koe toko taha koe na whaere I muri.
Ko ia. Io, e lava pe, koe tui o whai pe ai whenga lahi ko ngā ke toko ni o tau kakai hen, ka koutui ingai whaka eke pehe, ka po tui, koutui koe papoto taha ka pau e si lava pe toko taha koe naha ni whainga maarie, o tāhanga tonu pe, tāhanga tonu ange pe, o pako whia peo ke tali ai telefoni mai toko taha koe ni, pe koha taha pe, kunga ka whai e whakatala noa koe hae whonga koe ke toko ni e toko taha koe ni. Ko ngā mahino pe taim lai, wika ke tau lava tau tolo o mawahe me tau ngā we, pe ku tau ka ke tau lava mavahe me ko tuan e ngai tinga keke pe ine pe paule va ke tau vakiri mu whakaukau ngai fonga kehe kunga ke sitokoni ai ni ko na whakaam ke whakahoko me maunga ko ni ko me ko ni ko o kui kai ke fu fe ma ko ke hoko o ku ia ye ni o na usitoki ya feange me apango ko mo ato ngai matu a ke mai no i pe sirivia ku hinga ya ko me fainga ta ai feinga ke ta na ki ai me whakapepa mo me ai pe o fe ma ke whakapapaui ko a tohitau ai ngo matua ko hai tu kunga ko ai tohitau Amerika ko e toko taha ko ni ne ko time ko na si fanau ia heni ko pau foke asia mo hingo ngo matua ko ngai me pepa wo ke o fe ma u ta ko me pango foko taha ko ke tau pule ki he department ko ni ta ko time ko mo ata ko matua o ku si fainga ta ki fanau ki nau fenga ki nau pakahoko ngai me ko ni mo pe ka ke nau si a usia ko fe ai ngai tafa aki ke mau me ka mafia ke fai atu ai tokoni mo vai i ngai tafa ko ka fie mau ka koutui e ki mau i ngange ai ki tano ai ka mo toko taha ko ina ko ha ngahi fonga ko ke tokoni ai ke whakahoko me ani
Mako fehu I wha o si pene ku si ia e taonga ko Esteri Hafoka pa pehe foki kia Maria Wright malo. Because thank you so much for being patient because sometimes we just go over the limit, you know, with our coconut time. But thank you so much. Those are upcoming graduates and we do greatly appreciate your patience. Ko iki fehu ia ni tō tāko ni ka iki moa ko whewhare atu ko makereta stauti malo o pito. Pea moe ofa atu ka te koe e konsela tōkia me Sacramento. Pea pehe foki kia Patsua Helu o whātoko ua malo kau mai kia somi. Pa pehe foki a tape nisi tau whamaka aia ko ia whokena si whai he fia he toni ai whenga I koe ni e tau hotere mo ngai mea ko ia I wholau mai pa ko teu pea tau whakato ia wholau mai. Ko pau ka mahalo ko tū ko sama ka reke osea te ngahi mea koe nange koe aho tonga high school ma te tau wakai ki siulai poko a kosi ke toi mea mai konsela pa Morisa ke whahoko ngahi tā pasporti I he wahengan. Ka koia koe whehu ia ne taha o mai koe ni koe wakai mai pe ka pau o ku kai ke ai a te pasporti. Ka tak whewhe whahinga o ku I kai ha nau pasport tonga ka na iai pe e te multiple visa ka ko expire ia.
Aia koutui bahal koe uhinga Silvia multiple visa Amerika?
Ia.
Ko ia. Ai koe visa Amerika foki o ku koe visa Amerika foki o ku tā ia he passport tonga. Pea koe visa Amerika o ku ne hanga o atu ai ngofua ke lava o folau mai ki he fonuan. Ai ko fepe feitu o te iai I tua pureanga koe visa ka pau o ku kei aonga pe koe kia ke te lava o folau mai ai ki Amerikani. O ku maari e te ai whaunga koe ni he koe unga koe taimi koko o ku te tuu uta mai ai koe ki hamala e wakapuna pe ko hataulanga he ni Amerikani. O ku ikai leva ke toi pule visa ia o ku pule leva ai kau ngā ue koe ni koe ai kau āwhonua pe koe pōra. Nau pule nau tol ki hono tukuange kita pe koe ke tū uta mai ki loto whunua. Ai koe visa ia o ku ngata pe pule ia ai visa I te wholau mai koe o pau ke te whakaha ke check in ni foki tau pe ko o kuna mai me Nusila pe me Fisi me Asteria koe visa ai ke whakaata kita ke Lavame'a mai he whakapuna. Koe ospe mo pa whao fo ke passporti, koe taim ko ke tū uta mai ki Amerikani, o kui kai ke nau toi fie ilo nau tolu ki he visa. O ku hanga leva, toko taha koe malawa ka puna, o whakaike ke mai ka kita ngai mea ko whewhi tu ke non ko ai, koe hae tau mua ho fo lau, koe hae whika telefoni whetu taki, o toko taha koe te nofo muia, mo ngai whakaiki ki ko ia. Pea iene pehe, toki hanga leva, toko taha koe he pōta koe I Amerikani, o whakangofua to stapai ho passporti, o ke lava o tu uta mai pe nofo i Amerikani i ho o ahi mai, ko ngā koe visa folau eva foki, o tau pehe o au ki e mahina e ono. Ko lai taha ia taimi ko whakangofua ai toko taha ko i malawaka puna ke ne hangau. O whakamawhai ia ke tu uta mai e nofo i Amerikani.
Mole pe e konsela i he ki i tatu sia atu ai ate wheu i ko tō taha koe ni maha koe tupe koe ni kune rea hanga tonu mai peke whakahoka tene wheu i koe ngā ke whakao atu ai mea to tonu ko ia o kune loto ke wheu i atu malo.
Malo.
Malo, Silvia. Famore mole pe tahine konsela ko auna e whehu i ka koe uhinga au koe visa tonga. Au ai e passporti Amerika. Kana ia e multiple visa ki tonga. Se alu aki pepea hoko foke lockdown o expire a multiple visa ki tonga. Ka ko ai koe fi alu koe ki tonga. Time for koe sai ko hui pe fok han ko tikite ke mahino pe te ai ha te one way ke hui ai pe te ngofua ke tu uta ki tonga ka kon fok pau ke te totong e kita ia ai return ticket he ko hui ko ke ai ha te visa ngofua tu uta ki tonga ko pe mahino nai e fehui pe kai
Malo au pito ko ia famole mole atu pe. Ai e koe tali ko whehui koe whaunga ki ai o kulava leva ke apply mai ki he office consela ko unga ke he tohi o kui koe tohi one way. Unga ke lava o folau aki o passport Amerika pake aonga ai tikite folau one way pe. Mahi no ngahi uhinga ki ai aina ke vai mai. Ai koe mea koe e whiema o koe ki ai e whemau ke whakaa awangi ki o ofisi, ai tatau ho passport Amerika, mo tatau a ho tikite folau, pea koe ki totongi koe ki he tohi koe ni, o tola e tolu whase ni te ni manoa. Pa te mata i at lewa ki tohi, o print, o atuia, pa te ke mono lewa e koe i ho passporti, pea koe taim koe te ke whae ho check ini, te ke whakaha ho tikite one way, mo passporti, pea mo tohi koe ni, e whakamawhai i aki koe, ke lava folau ki tonga i he tikite one way, o i kai ke whemau, ke whakahaha tikite alu pe mo i fok. Pea ko ho tungu ta pe fok ki tonga, te ke ai e tā i foki, e tā i
uta ki tonga ke ha te visa tu uta ki tonga.
Sorry, toi ai mai e konga ko ia whamole more?
Aia, e mau pe ha te visa tu uta ki tonga me ho ofisi, pe toki mau pe ki tonga.
Ain ko whakale atu, ko uinga ke lava o folau ake o tikite one way, te ke apply mai ki ofisi, ke o atu ho tohi, o ne whakamawhai i aki koe, ke folau ake tikite one way. Ko kau passport, ko citizen Amerika, o te lava pe kita o folau ki tonga, ta e iai ha o visa. O te lava foki o folau ki tonga, o tu uta ake passport Amerika, ka te nauhanga pe foki, o tā i ho visa folau eva ho tu uta ki he mahina e taha. Ai ni koe na oku ke uhinga mai whokoi ki ai, ke lava peo folau aki ai tikite one way. E koe anga mahi ni, koe visa tu uta koe e tā i atu koe i tonga ho tu uta ake ho passport Amerika, uku nau whemau whoki nau toi sio, uku iai ho tikite alu pe moe whok, pe koe return air ticket, eh? Ai koe mea ke solova ho whemau, pe mo tari ho whehui koe whamui kui, io, te nau tā i ato visa tu uta he taimi koe te ke tau ai ki tonga. Pake toi show atu, pe mo one way authorization letter, aia ukungo whakaata koe ke wholau pe mo puka ho tikite one way ki tonga. Pake taimi koe te ke tu uta ki tonga, i loto i he aho e tolu noa koe o nau uatka koe, te ke me atu lewa ki he office in place ini, o apply ki whakafo ho visa loa, eh?
Ma lo opito. Ko te maha ko lava le ngai whamatala wha koe ni ko ke hanga o tuku mai e konsela senyare pa ku mau whiawhia o ku aonga lahi apito. Koe toko lahi apito i o nau lotoni pe a koutu i koe nau whanongo katoa. Katoa iai pe ha mo whe mau lava peke mo toi alu peke pesi ko ia Facebook i he Voice of South Pacific o mau katoa pe ai pe a ka pau i kai pe lava pe o au ki YouTube live o tai pe e Voice of South Pacific o se ke whaipol kalama koe no asia tuai ai e konsela pa mai ngai whakahino hino koe ni. Koe mea maho i ngā whoki, koe taim ko tau mao ai koe ai tau mea koe ko direct information. Ha o hanga tonu, pea koe kai koe tō whakamatala ha tahaia ona pehe mo pehe. Pea lahi le vai ai whetu ia koe whakakaukau, pea confuse ai mo ata mai. Ka ko whamalo lahi heni konsela i he whamatala aunga koe ni o tokoni lahi au pito ki he whanongo koe ia e kakai whikau aki, mo e tawha aki koe ia o whewhalau aki. Koe ia, koe, te tuka te pēni ko maha koe ki i minit wha os koe ni, ke tā et mai tau ki whai fast koe ni, ka ko wha ampe e konsela koe ngā kui toe ki tau ongo ki toroa i loto. Ka te kore ten ki whai whekau, e luma o ki ai hao whehui, pe te tau hoko atu.
I kai malo tima ko tui mahalo ne o si tari lelei pea e konselai tau whehui e poni. Malo.
Malo o pito. Ko ia, koe ni o ku lotonga koe ni o ku i taimini, o ku mau loto whoki heni pea mo Maria Wright, pea pehe whoki ki a Esteli Hafoka. Ka te tā e pene ki whai whasko i ni taimini pea ki second si i pea osko pata hoko.
Halo, Fifita, opa kowe.
Opa lang ia se konsela mo pehe ki loko whanonga mai ki a maua ka ausiaka. Koe wika ka osi oi mahina ko tō pe pau ke tau ko kalama e mo konsela se miale. Koe ngai mahu inga whoki ki tau whanonga ki ngai. Mau ka malo mo loko hana ia mo ani. Malo ka opa lang ia ko na osi mai pehe e konsela. Congratulations, to all the graduates, all the Tongans, wherever, far and near.
Halo, Fifita,
Malo kita ikonsela.
bye.
Welcome, Maria Rosalie Wright, and then after this, and we'll go with the last persons. That would be Esteli Hafoka. Maria Rosalie Wright graduated from Central Washington University. Ko University pe Fokieni i Washington. She got her bachelor's in business administration, and also that she's also specialized in human resources. Hange koe na e whai koe tala noa peki ai e lea kia e whai whekau. Whai luma whiaki na ne pehe whoki ai ngahi ta whako ia koe ki he ngahi iako koe ia ki he ngahi ta whaaki ke kehe pia pehe whoki ke rea koe ia e konsela mo ne tala monu, about specialized, in different types of education. Malia Rosalie Wright, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Koe ofe fine whokene o Otley Wright, pia pehe whoki ki a Reginald. This is the daughter of Reginald and Otley Wright. Ka koe moko punaini o Lavelua pia mo tu ihakavalu hefa ko na mama o atu. Ko Lavelua ne ke mo uipe pia oku amanaki whoke whakahoko e whamiri na whailongai. Ai a usia koe ni ki tahine a hono ta o fulmataha pe lava lele pe my graduation. Maria, can you tell us, about your upcoming, graduation that everybody in the family are looking forward to?
Yeah, so I'm celebrating my 21st as well as my graduating in college. I'm receiving my degree, and it's a really big deal for my family because nobody else has been to college or has actually experienced a full college experience of going and living at the campus and going to school and living out those 4 to 3 years. So it's a huge deal for my family and something that nobody else has done before.
Thank you so much, Maria. What makes you success, in your field of study? Can you share with us? Because we do have a lot of our Tongan students and also the Pacific Islanders are tuning in. Tell us,
Mhm.
what makes you success and finish yours and graduate.
My success, I've definitely always been a school kind of person. I wasn't really involved in sports um, or anything that I'd say a typical Islander would be interested in. I've always invested my time in school um, ever since I was a small girl. I've always loved it. I've always had plans to go to college. I think that me having that goal and that one track mind of just going to college and pursuing my career definitely helped. I've always been a people person. I love meeting new people, getting to know them, and learning from them how I can better myself. Um, Other than that, um, I don't
What
know.
about in home?
I've
What
always
about parental
been in.
support?
Yeah, my parents have always been a huge influence on me. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to go to college. And yeah, they paid for it, but I wouldn't be there if it weren't for them pushing me, telling me that I'm capable of more than I believe I am.
Oh,
Um, if I'm not advocating for myself, I don't know who would, kind of thing. I do it for my family, also for myself. Um, but yeah.
that was so beautiful. I'm gonna say something in Tongan. Ai maho inga ko ia o e poupou ko ia ai mātua. Poupou ko ai mātua ko mea ia ko lai taha manau teke. Pea Neongo 11, they feel like she's doing it, for the family and everybody. Because it's not just doing it for herself. And what about today? The mom and dad are happy, and then also the family are happy. And I'm sure all the Heifers family, although you have like a Palangi dad, but with our Tongan culture that we live as a communal, I think that makes the whole Heifers family so happy and looking forward, that there is a person that's about to graduate. In the beginning, you maybe even missed it, but Pastor Luma was just also like graduate, from the Claremont Theological Seminary in California. There's
Mhm.
no ages, there's no limit, she's probably almost like 40 years apart from you, but she just, say, I'm going to do it. And now she also graduated. And she's doing it, for everybody and also the community, the family. Ko fia apito he niki whaloto lahi koe ni. Ai pou le lei ai o ngā a moe teke ia. Pea koutu koe pou turiki he tau no whatonga. Pou, pea mono teke. And that's where she's at today. And that's what she was sharing. Okay, last but not least, ko hana ha mea te ke vahe mai ki he whanau ako tonga pe ko hataha pe. Pe ko mātu a pe ko hataha pe whanga am ke aluat ke malai o ako. Ko haha o whakaloto lahi ko ke vahe mai. What is something that you wanted to share, as an empowerment, to the people in the community and everyone else that are listening? Thank you.
Especially being Tongan is not very common. I've always gone to schools and I've always been like maybe 1 out of 3 Tongans in my whole school.
Yes.
And even at college today, it's very unusual to see a Tongan female be in school, go through the whole experience, doing everything that everybody else does. I've always been that one girl that just does it. And like I said before, if I'm not going to advocate for myself, then who will? And so I've always told myself that I'm more capable than what I believe. I can do everything that anybody else can do. I've always looked up to certain people in my life, and I've always just told myself that if they can do it, I can do it. There's nothing that holds you back. And I feel like one thing, especially as a Tongan, people always looking down on us sometimes, is that I want to prove them wrong. You have to prove them wrong. Just prove them wrong is all I have to say. I've always kept that in my mind when I have a goal for myself, when I want to achieve more and more. I don't think of myself higher or lesser than anybody else, but I definitely can put myself out there in a unique way, because being a Tongan female in school is already unique itself. And definitely give yourself some credit for doing the things that you do, because it's not very common to be in school and to actually enjoy school and to build a career off of that. You're advocating for yourself at the end of the day, and that's the most meaningful thing that you can do, not only for yourself but for your whole Tongan community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, and we're deeply grateful to to hear like a young woman, a woman, from the Tongan community, come out, and just let your voice be heard, become it visible, to share the inspiring um, achievement that you have, and also the educational accomplishment. We're so grateful, and we're so happy to be part of it. We know that there is an upcoming celebration that the family set it up. It's going to be on June 25th, uh, right, Maria? And
Yep, June 25th.
June 25th at 5:30, yeah? At Four Points
5:30.
Hotel. Aina tak whahoko ai whamanate ahoko ia tikon aspecti for. It's right on Pacific Highway, and then we're putting out the address right now and the time at 5:30 on the same day. On Saturday, June 25th. That will be the last Saturday of the next month. So everybody, let's come and enjoy and celebrate, the big accomplishment. Thank you so much, Maria. We're so happy that you're part of the program. Mawhiawhia lahi au pito. Malo pito tahine tonga e ako. Pea ako mauloto atu pe mo I kaunga whiawhia I ho au sia. Thank you so much. We're so proud of your accomplishment, especially in the educational field. You got a lot of potential, and then now we're looking forward, to have another Tongan that is going to help us lead our community for the better of all. Thank you,
Malo
Maria.
Pito.
I will have our pastor Luma, that she also graduated, like last week. Luma, do you have anything to just, congratulate and seeing the younger generation? Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations, Maria. It's not I'm sorry, I have a grandson here, and okay, and I want to congratulate you on that. It's not hard. I know, I've been there, and so I don't know if you've heard the introduction, but I also have a bachelor's in human service, and my question is, what do you plan to do with your degree? Are you planning to find work, or are you continuing your education?
Ooh, I've been battling between that, because I feel like getting my master's, that just sets my bar up even higher and it opens a lot more opportunities. But I definitely am kind of burnt out on school right now. And like, it's not too late to go back. I can always go back in 10, 20 years from now if I want to keep going with my career. But for right now, I'm going to continue to go to work. I can go work for the state in Olympia. That's kind of been opening my eyes. Or I've been looking to be a recruiter for any kind of company, honestly. Yeah, I'm still looking.
Great. Well, that sounds good. I mean, you have, from hearing from your sharing, I hear that your focus is there, and some of the important things that I think need to be pointed out is the support that is needed for you youngers, for even for us older people that decide to go to school after 30 years, right? So the support is really important when it comes to education, especially in our community where there's other stuff going on, right? There's other and what going on, and then we tend to forget the children and how important education is. So I think we need to continue to focus on that support. And also, you mentioned that you're going to take some time off. I think that is also very important to self-care. I don't know if they taught you that in your courses, but self-care is very important, because this is it, right? You know that this is one mind and this is one body. And if that is God, so yeah, take your time. You're still young. You can still come back whenever after you taking your time off. But again, congratulations. I wish you well in your journey. I know you'll do well because you're already talking that way. And so, yeah, have fun and enjoy your vacation, but come back and refocus.
Yes,
Thank
of
you, Kuya.
course. Malo opito afuatu.
Okay,
Malo,
thank you. And we
Fatue.
look forward to seeing you on the June 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the Four Point Square Hotel. And we will be there. Okay,
Yes.
congratulate also to your parents, for the hard working and the full support, for you. Now we're going to play the song Vai Ko Whakalavelave. That's from the village of La Paja. That's where your grandparents and your ancestors all coming from there. This is the song Vai Ko Whakalavelave. It's also like the water of spreading the water. Vai Ko Whakalavelave. And after this, we'll go to our next one. Okay, we have the Esteli Hafoka. Esteli Hafoka, it's about to have her PhD. This is like a philosophy degree in candidate in religious studies, from Stanford University. And we're so glad that she's here. Her parents is, I'll let her introduce herself, but I wanted to share a little bit about her background. She has a Bachelor of Arts, and I'm not one of my BA Ancient History. Ngaahi Historia koia o tuku au mai koia o lotu from the University of California, Riverside. Then I'm not only a master from Religious Studies from Stanford University, where she is currently a PhD candidate in Religious Studies. She is the first Tongan to get the PhD from Stanford University. Koe mea ia ko hanga lau koe aha moments. O tau look up ki ai. Ko inga o ko tau fia. Koe taimi ko aloha taha o whai ha mea lele. O tau fia ke tau pe. Oh, that's my family. That's my relative. Pea mo connect kato. I know her. Pea koe kai ke ngatai. O toki ki mui my family ka koe talatu koe tahine tonga. Koe whakawhiawhia a ngāia, he ko hai o ko asai. Asai pea e ki I motuanga ofa, o tu motuanga ofa. Now we're so proud, to have her being here as a guest with us today. Pea koia te kolenga Esteli. Esteli, welcome to our program. Please tell us about yourself and also your parents and your field of study. Thank you.
Ko whanga he ngahi whakatapu ko sa whakiatu. Silvia, malo ho whakawhi I mai ke kau I he polokalama e poni. Thank you so much for the invitation. Silvia, like you said, my name is Esteli Hafoka. I'm actually married to an Uhamaka from Vautu'u, and his mom is from Holonga. My parents are Daniela Hafoka and Latu Fuipeka Halaufia Hafoka. My dad is from Whakagai, that's our connection with Silvia,
Yeah.
in Pukotala. And my mom is from everywhere in Tonga, really, but mainly Koloa, Ngāi Noho, and Old School of Aini. So those are kind of my roots. And like Silvia said, I am a PhD candidate at Stanford University in the Department of Religious Studies. That I'm gonna be a Fifita. No, you do not want me to be a Fifita. So I'm a religious historian. I look at history through the lens of religion. And so I take seriously what religion or how religion impacts people's lives, people's identities, and their history. And so I look at Tongan migration from Tonga to the US as a religious migration. The first Tongans to arrive in America was Luthi Wolfgram in 1935, who actually came and stayed. In the 1950s, my grandfather's brother came for school. He went to BYU, what is now BYU Idaho. It was called Ricks College back in the 50s, but he received a scholarship with Saya Lavulo to come and go to school here, and then he transferred to Utah State University. And so these are kind of the original Tongan settlers in America. And what my dissertation does is it looks at that religious migration and kind of tells the story of Tongan settlement as the kind of first community builders. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, I think, what my dissertation is doing. I'm making a claim in my dissertation that I think for Tongans, religion, and this is a quote from somebody else, Apunake, from this documentary that BYU Hawaii created back in the late 90s. So this Punake said that Christianity is at the core of every Tongan person's identity. And when she said that, I really thought about that, and then I took that question, I kind of made it into a question, and I asked everybody I knew, every Tongan person I knew, is Christianity at the core of your identity? And for every single answer, you know, it was yes. It was a resounding yes. And so I really wanted to understand what that meant. How is Christianity at the core of every Tongan person's identity? Because what does that mean if Christianity is introduced to Tonga in the 1800s, in the late 1700s? So yeah, those are the questions that I investigate in my research, and I will, pass it back to you, Silvia.
Thank you so much. I saw Neta, that's our radio engineer, she's kind of really liked, because those are your generation, yeah? And I didn't know you're married to the Ohamaka. So is that, I know that's my best friend, long time from Tonga, Alena Ohamaka.
That's my mother-in-law. Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
married
your
her eldest
mother-in-law.
son. Yeah.
Yeah, a matter of fact, I just talked to her today. Reverend Alena Ohamaka, that's your mother-in-law, that she's still like a Faifikau, and the dad, we were working together back in the late 70s in the islands of Tonga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But thank you so much, for taking your time and coming in, Um, what is something, that you could share to the Tongan? Because I lot I whake kakai Tonga koe kakai lot. And now you will have a deep study, about the religious. Is there anything that you may have found while your field of study, about those religious and history background, o ngā historia o lotu, that you wanted to know the last few minutes, for you to share?
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently exploring a theory that has to do with anga whakawhanua. And kind of, among scholars, we talk about epistemology, which is the way in which someone understands the world, right? These things, these family, their family and their family's religion, or their family's social status, their family's just kind of, I guess, anything, their genealogy, their trade, their work, everything kind of shapes the way that they understand the world. And so I think in terms of epistemology, the claim that I'm making in my work is that for Tongans, anga whakawhanua is Tongan epistemology. That's the way that Tongans understand the world. And it can be and is hierarchical, right? So there's a hierarchy, a social hierarchy, a family hierarchy that we understand ourselves as kind of dual in nature. So you're Eiki on one side and you're Tu'u on the other side. And that kind of creates a sort of balance between the higher and the lower energies. But I think that's kind of my intervention in Pacific Islander studies and Tongan studies is that we can take some of the things that maybe we don't like about the social hierarchy, about the power imbalance, and just try to understand it, not to come into it with value judgments, like saying it's good or it's bad, or but it's just trying to understand how maybe the power imbalance of our social structure informs the way we understand the world. How does that shape the way that we understand the world and ourselves in it? And I think for my work, I'm very focused on Tongan American communities, because this can look very different in Tongan communities in New Zealand, in Australia, and then in Tonga itself, right? And so I think, yeah, I think that's I think that might answer your question, and it might also just kind of spark a lot of other questions and a larger talanoa about anga whakawhanua as Tongan epistemology. But that's the claim. That's the claim that I make in my work.
Thank you so much. What you're talking about is very powerful, and very enlightening. So I'm gonna give you my last question, and then I'll let Luma, ask the last question. I'm asking you, what is something that you wanted to share with all the listeners, upcoming graduates, students, Tongan abroad? What is something that you say, why is it important to pursue a higher education?
Yeah, I think it's important here in the States, and I think in every kind of Tongan diaspora, to pursue higher education, because this is what our parents came here for. I can't imagine traveling to a different country and settling there with 5 kids and um, a very limited knowledge of the language, and just trying to provide your kids with a better. I have 2 kids, and I can imagine like just getting up and moving to Germany or something. That would be so shocking for me. And my parents did it. Lots of Tongan parents did it, and I think one of our responsibilities as Tongan children is to pursue that education. This is what our parents came here for.
Yes.
But also, a higher education is good for logical thinking. What does that mean? Because sometimes anga whakawhanua isn't necessarily logical. But I think it'll help us understand our context, our landscapes that we live in now in the diaspora. I also think it's important for students to know, because I'm a product of community college. I went to community college, I dropped out. I was on academic probation when I dropped back in 9 years later. And it was, I'm an older student. I was so proud of Maria, because she's young and she's getting it done at that young age. I'm so proud of those Tongan youth who are getting it done. But I also want people to know it's never too late to go back. So, I dropped out in 2001. I went back in 2009, got my BA in 2013. And then I skipped a master's and went straight to a PhD. There's another thing that I want people to know. You don't have to get a master's, just go for a PhD, because most master's programs are not funded. The master's programs that I did get into were fully funded with a stipend, but I got into PhD programs and they pay you to go to school. And so that's a good thing to know too. For anyone considering, even Maria, if you're still watching, if you're considering going back and and doing a master's, just apply for the PhD, because you can probably get into those programs and you won't have to pay a dime. I have not paid anything for any of my education. So education can be free, especially for those who are going back at over the age of 25. Yeah, I think those are just big things. Community college, still good. You can transfer, go to school for free, and maybe skip a master's and go straight to a PhD if you can, because I did it. And I picked up my master's at Stanford. I just paid the $50 or whatever it was for them to send the certificate to my house. And that was it. And the rest of the time they pay me to do my own research and to write my people's stories. And so I think that in general is just, yeah, we're all winning. We're all winning.
Thank you so much, Esteli. Just like exactly what you said, we were coming over here to find better opportunity, you know. And ko tau mo ape ko inga ko ako pe kai ke me ka ko inga ko ngai whainga mali ko ia o ko lava ia ke toi wha ata atu ai pa ko tau toko ni pe ia ki ho tau kakai tau toko ni o tau community he ko lava pe ke ilo pe ko kai ka ha inga se o lalo ke ni i o e whanau ka ko ki nau tolu ko nai osi ko e me he university mo ngai kolisi. O pulava pe te ilo ko nau ki seniti. Maybe it's a small little money that they can earn, but they budget everything, and they never ask me for a penny. You know, sometimes they just say, "Do you need something?" Eh? Ba ko e kalasi ko nai osi pe ko me high school. O ko kei fai pe ki kore e mo pen ka os ko they make more money than those folks. Eh? Aya ko uhinga pe o ku ia e enlightening, he mo whakamama. Pea ko ia mau whiawhia ai, ko ngā ko e tahaini o tau sio, ko e tau whanau tonga, ka nau tupu haki heni, ka nau ngawe aki whainga maali e ko that's a root. Ko e back to the root, ko e ha, ko e tonga. Nea ngona e whaele ino toi Amerikani, but at the end of the day, ko e pehat, ko hai e tahine ko e. Ko hai e toke tā, he ko amanaki, ke ne graduate pa mohono toke tā. Philosophy degree, me Stanford University. He kai ke pehat, o ko tahine me Stockton. I ka ko fe mea pe laki vave tahe ko tahine tonga ahai but tok fai dem hano eke fai koneki ki ai. And I'm sure if there's any tonga that will come over there for a different reason ko e peha te ko tonga e fia ia he ke lue mai ki ai ke ilo pe mo maheni pe mo kainga ka ko ofe fine ni. It's a daughter of Daniela Hafoka and Latu Hafoka, and they live in Stockton, and I know the family really well. Pea ko ia ko fia apito, pa te tukange ki whanga maria ko ni ka oska ka te mo fo hiva ko ni wipi o homa te wha, that's your uncle, to play that song, and I think he's going to come and attend your graduation. What's the date again? June 12th. I'm going to be there too. Yeah, June 12th, we will be there. Ko ne ta ia te wipi o homa te wha ka te mai
Whangunai ka kala o masaya no masima Akau alama no i e sapiko o kawa Tia e moe lo se matala he paku moku a makai E koe troi ai kona tamai ki o ho matu wha Ise kisa e ngalo a whesi tapiko ni a hana Teu ki ai pena e sai ni a hoi mo No kuana a ke i ai ka te avise ni pe i no a No ngā mu a hena te kuho o tua ki e o mata Maire a te molo pe a moisia no talote Na niri ai mono e whalala he fo i no ne mote Au whanau e mamau mo i e pori mo e pori Ta university ko si toto ka paari oe Tau afu e kere si la mea i kokula wai Mange hawa wete ni ta fito wiki o no mei Koe mata vai mo uina e lau e tau sabe Amsia ai panupuna o kule si tata i mohu One mari loto e si kola si pina aneiku Si ene ta fe kukua o pasi ki e lau o natu Leo ko o fare wiki o hoa te kofa. Tori katala he katala iloa.
Aina mare pani te toko ame ia ki a whaiwhekau a luma whiaki, na ne toki whaosi ako whoki Master of Divinity me Claremont Theological Seminary. Aia ko ilo I whoko ke ilo le leia tu pe wahenga ko ia Claremont, Esteli, pea ko lumana na e whai e tanak to ngā. The graduation commencement was last Tuesday, May 17. Luma, ko tuka te ki whanga mari ko nika koe. Malo.
Malo pito Dima. Esteli, first of all, congratulations on your accomplishment. That's really wonderful and inspiring for our younger children. Not only for the younger, like you shared earlier that you dropped out and went back. Well, I dropped out and went back after 30 years. So, that's really something to to kind of inspire the kids or the younger generation or even the older generation. Like you said, it's never too late. But I was wondering, you said you studied religion. Is that Christian religion or did you study different sort of religion? I'm trying to think of our Tongan culture and how that, how would that affect the way we think of Christianity?
Thank you, Luma, for your question. And so as an undergrad and in my coursework, I have to study all religions, right? So I have to be able to teach like a global religions course and be knowledgeable about different religions around the world. But my focus is on Christianity and a very specific form of American Protestant Christianity. And so I'm looking at Tongan Mormonism is a big focus in my dissertation, but also I look at the way that Tongan identity is informed by a Victorian era Wesleyan Methodism, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand how one or each, right, act as a lens for these Tongans who migrated in 1935 and in the 1950s. And so if one of the ways that they understand the world is through this lens of Tongan, Wesleyan, Victorian era Methodism, and then the next lens is a Tongan Mormonism, what does the world look like through those two lenses? And so that's what I'm exploring here. And it's just one kind of group of Tongans that are Tongan Mormons. But as we know, right, as Tongans, when you have a community hub, right, that might be Tongan Mormon. So some of the oral histories that I was looking at was Luthi Wolfgram comes, and then his cousin is married to a what's his last name? I can't think of his name. But then some of the Lavulos come, right, because someone's married to a Lavulo. Then another Wolfgram is married to a different family, and they come, and they may not be Mormon. They might be Wesleyan, or they might be Katolika, or so. This community kind of grows, but I'm looking at that original kind of pipeline of the pursuit of higher education for Tongan Mormons in the 1950s, and then also these community builders, and they're building around these communities next to universities, right? Next to the Utah State University in Logan, and then also next to Provo, and then in the city hub of Salt Lake City, and then kind of the ethnic enclaves that happen after that in the 90s and the 2000s. So you have Rose Park, Glendale, and kind of all those different pockets of Tongans. But I'm also very interested in Southern California Tongan communities, right? So they're settling in the 60s. So are the Bay Area Tongan communities, like with the Galfusis and the Talakais in the 60s. And then also with the Pulokas in Seattle, right, in the 1970s. And so I'm really interested in these communities. I want to kind of take part in documenting those histories, because most of them are oral histories, and I think they're important, and I think they should be archived and printed. And so that's what I see as my job, kind of doing that. And so again, I look through all of these things kind of through I want to understand in terms of religious studies. And so in studying all of the kind of religions worldwide and then focusing on Christianity, I can kind of see how one, I guess, this vector from Tonga to America is religious, but also how Tongans are coming in and settling in Utah, right? These Tongan Mormons, without understanding that even Mormonism itself was kind of this fraught like territory, this fraught journey in the 1800s to the 1950s of racialization of Mormons. I mean, that's maybe going a little too deep, but it's kind of understanding that Tongans come with their own history of Christianization into a nation that has a very large and fraught history of Christianization. And so what does that look like when one community kind of plops in and then, you know what I mean? And then is just like, it's not an amalgamation where they come together. Sometimes it's a pulling apart. Sometimes it's a running away. Sometimes they're encircling each other. And sometimes they might just go like this. So yeah, that's kind of the way that I'm.
Yeah, so I kind of took a couple of classes in world religion and Christianity. And so a lot of talk was around interreligious dialogue. And you talked about earlier about how Christianity is so rooted in the Tongan tradition. I wonder how that looks like for you, because I didn't really go into that study, but I wonder how that looks if you've ever come across. Would there ever be a time where we can, communicate interreligiously?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think I saw something on Facebook like a long time ago of like a Tongan Muslim, right?
Yeah.
And people just thought, Tongans, how dare you go to Islam? Because they're so kind of rooted in this Christianity. I also look at the ways that kind of these pre-Christian Tongan words that are used in Christian, I guess, terminology, lotu, tapu, ta'ihamai, those kind of words that they don't necessarily really, kind of converge with like these notions of the spirit or, and so, yeah, I think, I honestly don't know with Tongans, because they're so Christianized, like, I don't know how that, that dialogue, that interfaith dialogue or that interreligious dialogue happens. But I think part of it is for Stanford first years, they're required to take like liberal arts courses or religious studies courses or some of the courses that they can take. And I think it's important for Tongans to go to university to kind of get that exposure to different people, different walks of life, different religions, different identities. So, it makes for a more peaceful world, a more understanding world.
Right. Yeah, I think there should be, you're right. I think there should be more dialogue in churches about that, and not just so closed mind, you know what I mean? Where we just focus on Christianity and there's nothing else.
Yeah. I think there's some work being done there though. And I know with like the United Methodist churches, like my mother-in-law, who's a Fifita, she does a lot of interfaith work. And she had people from like the community who aren't Christian who are like on the church board. And you know what I mean? It was nice to have like that kind of outsider perspective, but also insider, right? Because they're inside the community, but outside of the religious community. But yeah, she was finding ways to make that work, which is amazing. I was really surprised to know that she was doing interfaith work. And I think there are other folks who are kind of pushing in that direction, and I think it's maybe finding commonality in another context. And so if we're all from the same community, but we identify, with different religious leanings, then we can get together on this part and maybe table that other part. And so, I think
food.
Food is always important. Always food, especially if it's Korean barbecue, then,
Right. Well, thank you so much, Steli. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ima?
Esteli, yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations again, to you on becoming a PhD holder. And we do look forward to that. Congratulations again, after all your hard work, you deserve it. I'm sure your family and everyone are happy in the community. And we're so grateful that you joined with us today. And also, if we got those free graduates today, Luma Afeaki with her Master of Divinity from Claremont Theological College. And then also Maria Wright getting her Bachelor in Business Administration from Central Washington University in Washington State. Ko ofefinia o te right ko mo puna ia o Lavame'a hefa ko na ya kamalu hefa ko na mawa. And also last but not least, nga fa'ala ko best comes at last. Ma e ka fita ni toketa ko you do deserve it, and we're so grateful because now you're becoming a PhD holder. It's going to be on your life forever. Kung ko mauhot to kita, ya mafia ko ina kafa ilaw nga kaya o koy o ako ita ang nga koy me ay telepono nga boya telepono nga talabot talamonot ke family o faka anti-hair offer to kiho o matuat and nilang foka ka maala tuwa foka, and then we'll see each other on June 12th. Maybe I will bring you out. You can come over there for graduation, and then you guys can all meet in person. Well, also thanks, to our radio tech today, Neta Tua Tapia Lava, Go Neta. She also come to when the grandfather was also a tax in DePaul College. They are going the maternal grandpa also was one of the secretary at the King's Palace in Tonga, and one of her uncle, one of her younger brother used to be the High Chief Commissioner in London. Bago yung tao fia ko talano ako ni ngai malaya ako ngai me ayom ni fa mama bene to hangaw fakaloto lahi kita to ngai fononga anga pe lava kita to koni kai ki ngata pe kia kita to koni ai ki family to koni siasi pe mo community mo fonua kala monua mo ofala ya to Esteli but fa osa kai pe ta pro kalama ko wipia e homa te fa ta ya tia ko ia foki ko nga ko fa weni Uncle Fidia Wipi of a cow Akimon knife Osiako and Lavame'a Kawa from Monifana. And I heard that they are coming to celebrate and congratulate you on this June 12th. We will all be there.
Aire ate molope moisia toto Nanivia I ono e whanala e fo I one kotu Hau whanau e mambao mo I e kore mo e kore Kita university ko si o tona pa arioi Tau afu e kore si lame ai no kula o mai Ange hawau e pelita fito uniki o te mei Koi mata mai ko fuina e lau pe tau same Sia ai malukuna o kone sinta ka imo One mari loto e sikola si pina aleiku Si ene ta fetu kua o pasi ki e la o natu Leo ko o fare area ko whaka mau nei tau kua E tātou wipi o ho me te wha Tori tatala e tatala iloa Langa kari mo e papa fio me ilana Ofumani ati ahono siare tafa Tatai ono loro ala pasita Kafeta papi ono kuisi para Isa koe sueri o ate aloa Vie laupe koe hopo akai lana Tato wipi oho mate tofa Tori takala e takala iloa Kai mo e papa fio me ilana O fumani ati ahono siare tafa ai hono lolo ala pasita. Fifita paki hono kuisita la. Isa koe siwei.
Malo o pito kai ngā tonga I tau kawhataha he ni pe aku na e toko lahi o pito I kai ngā I lotoni. Wha malo ka ki motol ko tau wa o main ke wha o singa tau polo kalama. Lava pe ke te moto e mao e ta tau I e Facebook page ko ia e Voice of South Pacific. Pe to e tuku atu foki I e alpe ke YouTube. O tai pe e Voice of South Pacific ko ngā ke lava COI. Ko ngā tokolahi e kakai o ku nau toki lava nau tolo mamata pe ai I e te TV pe I api. But thank you so much, you know, I don't have enough words to express our sincere thanks, you know, from Voice of South Pacific broadcast for the beautiful talking about the accomplishment of the educational achievement. You know, from we got those free Luma Afeaki and also Maria Wright and Esteli Hafoka and also our Tongan General Consular aia ko Sela Tukia na ne tuko tai whakaikiki o e ngai whamatala ko ia whekau aki mo e whelawei o e wholau ko ia ki Tonga. Pea te mo ma o katoa pi e ngai pesi ko ia ai Voice of South Pacific. Ma lo o pito tau ka whataha mai wa mai ke ngataanga o whatka ki mo tolu, stay safe, pea mo toi ka mai pe ke polo kalama ko i virtual population community ai kainga Pasifiki I he ono ke fitu o e aho toa Pulelulu. O whalai ka ki mōtolu, ma lo o pit whirmuta o whaho a, kau Silvia Fatima aho mō mea.
Mata mai ko puina e rau pe tau sake. Amsia ai manukuna o mōne sita ka I moku. One mari mari loto e sikola si